Welcome everybody to Health Coach Community's first official event. And I'm so grateful for Robin to join us today. I think she's got a slide to share. Just to give a little introduction, if you haven't already seen the welcome page that I posted in the group. It's just a quick overview of the ideas that have been percolating over the past few years as I've had so many conversations with many of you and all the different health coaches really around the world. But as I had more and more conversations, it became clear to me that we were all struggling with the same issues. And so I felt that because of my past and ability to bring people together around common issues, that it was a chance to share my gift of bringing people together and leading a community. So that's why we're here today and why we're starting Health Coach Community. We're starting just for Connecticut right now because it's really important, I think, for us to connect with people personally. I think, I love technology, but I think it can separate us just because we can get locked into our box in front of our computer. And we as human beings need the contact. We need to connect with each other. And I love health coaches, so I want to connect with you. So we're joining forces, and we're going to help each other get stronger and encourage and support each other so that we can raise the level of excellence and help more people right here in Connecticut and around the world, really. So today's Thyroid Essentials Lunch and Learn is a perfect example of the type of event and activity that I envision when I think about community effort. Robin is a peer expert. She's a health coach. She's also a part-time Connecticut resident. Her family lives here, so she might see her here in the summer.
Yay!
Yeah, and she's got an incredible message to share with us. And she's worked with so many people and health coaches that I felt that this would be a perfect inaugural kickoff event for the community. And that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions about what's going on with Health Coach Community and what we might be doing in the future? Comments? No? Okay. Well then, in that case, we can, let's see here. I have to get going with we can move on to the portion of the program. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the technology.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually, you don't have to do anything, Chris. I can actually shift the visual.
Thank you.
When we're ready, we can just talk, and I'm happy to jump in and share, and I'm so honored to be your kickoff specialist in the Health Coach Community Project, and I love that you're doing it. We're going to get into the content in a second. I just want to share with everybody, just for the purpose of background noise, because I know a lot of you are in all different places, and we have had a few more people sign on, which is awesome. Welcome. I'm actually going to mute you guys. You can unmute yourself. So I do encourage questions, and it'll be a conversation. But I wanted to just make it more comfortable to listen for everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. And if you want to even play, like while I'm talking with unmuting yourself and remuting yourself, you should be able to click on your little square and do that and unmute, okay? If you're on the phone, there is a command, and I should know it. Let me see if I can find it in my notes. Because if you're on the phone, I don't want to mute you, and then you can't unmute to let us know your question. So hold on a second. I'm going to get this.
Is it star 6?
I think it is star 6. So
I think it's star 6.
Okay. If someone's on the phone, do you want to just try that? I won't mute you. If you want to *6 yourself and then *6 again, I think. And let us know. I just don't want to lock anybody out of participating inadvertently. You can also type into the chat box if you have chat questions. And Chris, I know that you've got a couple of questions on the event page, which is great.
Yeah.
Open up that chat.
And while you're doing that, Robin, why don't I do the introduction for you, just so
Okay.
everybody knows who you are.
Okay, I'm going to mute everybody. If anybody can't unmute or whatever, you can just type into the chat box and I can manually unmute you. If you're on the phone, I believe it's *6 and you can unmute and ask questions. So I'll go ahead and mute everyone other than Chris. Just a second. And Chris, you are unmuted. Okay, let's go.
Thanks. I'm just going to read it straight from Robin's bio because I can't say it any better. Robin is a successful health coach who has built her business her own way with authenticity, generosity, integrity, using the personal rule of feeling good in the process as her guide. She is an expert in thyroid and adrenal health and supporting clients to resolve chronic illness through unique approaches to healing the whole person. She is the creator of Mastering Thyroid Imbalance for Health Coaches, an advanced training course taken by over 200 coaches from around the world. In addition to a busy health coaching practice, Robin trains and mentors coaches, supporting them to cut through the overwhelm, focused actions to grow businesses they love. She brings her powerful, loving, yet lighthearted approach to everything she does. Coaching, mentoring, and creative living. So
it may be actually your own microphone going through your own computer, Chris. I'm not sure, but whatever.
it sounded weird to me too.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was coming through that way too.
it's okay.
So I'm going to hand it over to Robin. She can mute me, and whatever weirdness is happening with the audio will disappear.
Yeah, I'm going to mute you, and we should be okay. I do want everyone to feel comfortable muting themselves. This isn't like a speech or a lecture or something where, you can't talk or anything. But so far, let me just check in, and you can all chat also in the chat box. Does the sound okay now? If you're on your computer and you want to type the little chat button, you can type a response and let me know. And I may actually ask you to type some thoughts and responses as we go. So I'm just going to do kind of a brief chat about, what it is we're learning here and why I bring this information to coaches. I specialize in thyroid health. It's not everything I do, but I find that thyroid is often at the core of health issues, especially when working with women. And some of the most common issues that we see as health coaches, like people having fatigue, or they're not losing weight, or they've got other hormone issues, or even hormone issues that are not, problems, but just natural, menopause, maybe some irregularity, infertility. All of these things doesn't mean they always are, can and quite commonly have a thyroid component. And it's not really something we are trained in. So very often as health coaches, we don't know to look for what we don't know to look for, right? So we're kind of blind to it. It's a big blind spot. And to add to that blind spot, there's another element, which is that very often people, when they get tested, are tested insufficiently in a really outdated way. And so it's either not caught and they're like, oh no, it's not a thyroid issue, or very often they're even told their thyroid is fine because they never did the complete testing that we now know after almost 20 years of science really needs to be done in order to detect this. So it goes completely off the radar. So when we see clients, they're like, well, I'm tired, and often this is what we'll hear. And you can ask yourselves, have you heard this from a client or a friend who hears that you're a health coach, or even said it to yourself, which is, I just don't feel how I used to feel. I just don't feel the same. I'm kind of draggy, and I want to feel better. And it's sort of vague, right? Sometimes there are specific symptoms, but sometimes it's just this vague sense of not feeling how we used to feel. So let's test the chat box. Has anyone either heard that from a client or potential client, or thought to themselves, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just don't feel the way I used to feel or the way I want to feel. We can type in if y'all are on there. So the way to do that is click on, we're going to get practice on the chat box now. You should in your controls see the chat button. Yay, there we go. I'm seeing a few. Good. Awesome. Okay, good. And just so you know, when you're typing in the chat box, you can, hi Allie and Amy, okay, cool. And Chris, you can send that to the whole group, or if for some reason you want to send something just to me or just to Chris or whatever, you can click that little more next to the word to and send who you're sending that to. So this happens all the time for us as coaches. It's something I've been involved with for like 20 years. I started in the early 90s as an herbalist, which was really bizarre at the time, but I just felt drawn to it. I was living in Colorado after college, and there was an herbal medicine school there, and I was fascinated. And I just took that course for no reason other than that. And that incorporated a lot of science, like anatomy and physiology and studying about the immune system, but it also, of course, was super holistic and plant-based and looked at the body from a completely holistic way, which I was already kind of interested in, and I was struggling with some subtle symptoms. So I don't want to go through my whole story because that's not why we're here, but I will, in the nutshell version, tell you that I later ended up really sick with Lyme, which I'm sure you all know plenty about, being from Connecticut, although I always like to remind people not in Connecticut that Lyme is in every state in the nation and it's on every continent on the planet. So it's not just a Connecticut thing, but as you know, it's so concentrated there. I grew up in Fairfield County. My friends had it. I had no idea that I had it. And 4 co-infections with it. But the thing is, and what really got me into thyroid, is that until the thyroid piece was addressed, I didn't feel better, even though I was fortunate enough to, this is years after I started studying this, bring a very integrative approach to my healing. It took me 5 years. I was sick for 5 years. Some of that time bedridden. I went into instant, almost overnight, within a month or two, menopause in my early 30s. Have since reversed that completely. But it really attacked my endocrine system. So many people are dealing with, the thyroid was like my weak link. So when I got sick with the infectious diseases, that's what it wiped out, was my endocrine system. So here's the thing. I managed to pretty much resolve the Lyme. I think we always have to be careful, right? But until I got the thyroid piece worked out, I didn't actually feel better. And I'm seeing this with clients and coaches where they're doing other things, Lyme stuff aside, they're doing other things and they're still not feeling better. Coaches working with clients and saying they're doing everything right, they've changed their diet, they used to never exercise, now I have them walking 5 days a week, they haven't lost a pound, right? And so when I started in my coaching, I was getting a lot of requests from other coaches to say, can I talk to you? Can I run some things by you about my clients, because I'm wondering if maybe there's a thyroid issue. Can you help me out? So of course I said yes, and yes, and yes. And that went on for a year. And I finally was like, okay, this information needs to be known. Coaches everywhere need to know what the signs are, how to detect this, how to pick up on this, not diagnose. We don't diagnose. But how to partner with our clients to get diagnosed when they need it. And then from there, be able to use all of this amazing coaching resources that we have to bring the body back to health holistically. Because as any of you know who may be on thyroid medication, the full answer is not in a bottle. It's not like we take the thyroid med and we just feel better. So there's so much more we can do. And by learning that, coaches can, first of all, let's just acknowledge that 1 in 5 women has a thyroid issue. 1 in 5. Many of them don't know. And so if we consider who is reaching out to you for help, who are you as a coach, no matter what it is you specialize in, who are you reaching out to help? You're reaching out to the people who want to feel better, who want to lose weight, who want more energy, who may have some other bothersome symptoms that we want to help them resolve. So I haven't done any, data research on this, but if you consider 1 in 5 women has a thyroid issue, and then ask yourself, who are the women seeking help from health coaches? It's not the people who are running marathons and feel amazing every day, right? It's the people who are struggling. So my guess is the proportion of our clients is even higher than that. So that's why I feel so dedicated to giving coaches the nitty gritty, the minimum of like, what do you need to know to at least have this on your radar? It will improve your work as a coach. It will also improve your confidence, because I think sometimes we're afraid. Chris and I, we've talked about this a lot. We often will say like we're overwhelmed by the technology, which is valid. I'm overwhelmed by technology every day. Or we're overwhelmed by the marketing, or whatever it is. But the truth is, underneath it all, I think if we felt really confident that we could help people, we would find a way to figure it out, even if it sucks, like even if we hate the technology. But if we're on some level almost afraid to get those clients because we're not sure if we can help them, or they might present with something tricky, we will block ourselves from actually getting our business up and running. And I don't want that to happen for any health coach, because I am so dedicated and convinced to the fact that you all are the change agent in the landscape of healthcare in this country. The doctor medical establishment is changing, and that's great. And there are more and more good integrative doctors, and I'm thrilled about that. But I think that the reason that's happening is because of health coaches, and it won't happen fully until we really continue to embrace and integrate health coaching into healthcare in this country. It's happening. You guys are on the forefront of it. I think we're going to see a lot more coaching coming up in the next few years. You're already here. We're here. We can do this. So I want coaches to have this on their radar, and I want to give you some of the basics today so that when we're done, you've got kind of a perspective and a view of what certain things you may want to look for, and just to kind of make sure it's not a blind spot for you anymore. So I'm going to get into some of like the most common symptoms, and I want to pause for a minute and just see if anybody has questions before we get into. I'm going to show a couple of slides. These are actually slides from a full training that I do, but I want to share a few of them with you today. But let's pause. You can unmute or press *6 or type in the chat box if there are any questions, comments, thoughts thus far. Let me take a sip. Okay, so don't feel pressure to stay muted. It was really just for background noise, but you're welcome to unmute and make this a conversation if you choose. I'll keep my eye on the chat box. And let's do a different screen share. So I'm going to just switch the screen share. It'll take me just a second to do that. All right. So the first thing I want to share with you is, I'm sorry, one set of controls is blocking another set of controls. So let me just open this up. Okay, good. Okay, and screen share, new share. Okay, so everybody should theoretically see on your screen, it should say what goes wrong. So I want to help coaches and all of you understand why this is happening, okay? So why is it that so many people are dealing with this, that our clients are dealing with this, and what's going on? Why is this such an epidemic? I will say this, it doesn't mean that everyone has a thyroid issue or everyone who's tired or has a hard time losing weight has a thyroid issue, right? We don't want to say, if the expression, if the tool in your hand is a hammer, everything's a nail. That's not what we're doing. But if we know that this exists for a large portion of people, we can help to either find it or rule it out. And even ruling it out is an incredibly accelerating tool in our coaching and success with clients. So check it out. Infection, right? So I had Lyme. A lot of people have other things. Epstein-Barr is big in the conversation lately. I think there are lots of viral and bacterial infections, some of whom we don't even know the names of, that people are probably carrying around that affects our endocrine system. Trauma or stress, who doesn't have that? Especially by the time you hit your 30s and 40s. We've all had lives and loss and challenge. Pregnancy, the most natural thing in the world, is actually a quote unquote risk factor for thyroid issues. So anyone here working with any sort of prenatal or natal or postnatal issues, there's, thank God, a lot of conversation now in the world about postpartum depression. They're not doing full thyroid screenings. So when those hormones fluctuate, and of course after birth there's like a huge drop and shift in our proportions of hormones, we actually run the risk of sort of throwing the thyroid hormones out of balance. And so my wish is that every woman, who's experiencing signs of, depression after birth gets a full thyroid panel to determine if that might be a piece, right? So exposure to radiation, environmental toxins is huge, right? So we all live in a world of endocrine disruptors. There's nothing we can do about it. There are a lot of things we can do about keeping them out of our homes and about where we spend the most time. But you go out to a restaurant, they're probably cooking on nonstick pans. You buy a bottle of water somewhere, it's been sitting in a plastic bottle in a hot truck for God knows how many months, right? So they're out there, and we have to learn how to counterbalance that potential negative effect. And as coaches, we're helping people live in the real world, right? And so I would love for us to be able to zoom into an oasis of no endocrine disruptors, but we're in the world. So we have to help our people, our clients and ourselves live in a way to minimize that. But they've been coming, right? They've found Teflon in polar bears who have never had human contact. They have found Teflon, is that the word I'm looking for? The nonstick surface, in 100% of tested breast milk. So it's horrible. And the upside is that we can be aware of it and we can say, hey, if this is affecting you and you're not feeling right, it's not because you're a woman. It's not because you have kids and, oh, you must be tired, right? This is what women hear at the doctor's office all the time. I've had people say, my doctor, I told him all my symptoms and he literally told me to go home and have a glass of wine and relax. So very often women, it's just chalked up to being female or a mother or busy. And that's not an answer. So as coaches, if we can help our clients find the answers, mitigate the risk factors, and then heal the body holistically to better deal with the risk factors, we are fundamentally changing lives. And we're going from operating within a blind spot to being the coach that completely changed someone's world, right? So I won't go through the whole list. You can read that. You can see the risk factors, right? So that's a piece. Any questions on the risk factors? Okay. So I'm going to jump right to some other things. Skipping because there's an important piece that I want to share. So, oops. Okay, so check this out. Why is this happening? Why are so many people having affected thyroid levels or thyroid glands or thyroid function, the function of the hormones in our bodies once our thyroid makes them? And why is this not being addressed or diagnosed? So this is a very simplified graphical diagram of the thyroid hormone cascade. So you're going to learn a little tiny bit of science, and I hope you feel empowered by learning this because I think the science is fun. I'm one of these people who loves to combine science, and I do lab reviews and I teach coaches to interpret labs, and I also am like really into my affirmation cards and my salt lamp and my meditation. So let's combine it all, but let's get a little bit of science. Okay. Okay. Thanks for popping in. I see you have to log out. This is recorded, so you can watch the rest later. So glad you're here. Okay. So let's start with the brain. It all starts in the brain. Okay. So you have the hypothalamus above.
Robin?
Yeah.
Are you showing a different slide?
Are you not seeing that? What are you seeing? Ooh.
I'm seeing the previous slide.
Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me.
Sure.
How's that?
That's the one.
Okay, good. I'm so glad you told me, because this is a much more interesting image. So a little bit of science here. When everything's working, this is what's happening. This is the basics of the thyroid hormone cascade. Every one of us has this, okay? Even if you've had your thyroid removed, you're still operating on the lower part of this diagram. So I'll talk about that in a second. Some of your clients will have had their thyroid removed and be taking thyroid hormone, because we have to have thyroid hormone to survive, whether we're making it or we're taking it. So pituitary gland, the brain, it starts the hypothalamus, but then the pituitary gland acknowledges, hey, the body needs thyroid hormone, and it sends TSH to the thyroid. TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. Most of you have probably seen this on your lab tests. And this used to be the only test for thyroid. Is like, let's test the TSH. Because if your thyroid hormone levels in the body are low, it's assumed, if everything is working perfectly, and we know it's not, right? Because of endocrine disruptors and stress and infection, but if it's working perfectly, the pituitary says, hey, we don't have enough of this. And it's like knocking on a door, and if there's not enough, it knocks harder, right? So it elevates that TSH. So the theory was, if you don't have enough thyroid hormone, your TSH would be elevated. If your TSH is normal, you're fine. And that's what was tested. And for many people, that's still all that's tested. So the TSH tells the thyroid to produce. And the thyroid produces mostly T4 and also some T3 and other things, but mostly T4. So the hormone that the thyroid produces is inactive. It's just like raw material for the body to make the active hormone with. So it's testing free, the thyroid is making mostly T4. That's an inactive thyroid hormone. And then our bodies, our systems, and I know that a lot of you are going to have a light bulb coming on right now, converts that inactive hormone to the active form. So what is required to properly and adequately convert that to the active form that we need? Gut and liver. Some other things too, right? We need vitamin D. We need other things to convert. But conversion happens largely in the gut and the liver. And most of you know, right, that there's a lot of gut issues going on out there, right? And a lot of undiagnosed gut issues. And I've yet to find someone with thyroid problems that are unresolved who has a perfect, happy, healthy digestive system. It's almost always a link, okay? So here's a note for yourself. If you're exploring this with clients, ask them about digestion. Ask them that they talk about fatigue or weight. Start to look at the whole system. So when I do an intake with a client, I have a holistic, like a functional assessment that they answer in their first session with me. And I go over all of it: digestion, menstrual cycle, energy, when they feel best, when they feel worst, skin, eyes, everything. Because the whole body is working together, and there are clues in all of that. And that's part of when I train coaches, what I help them do is to how do we pick up the clues to really be holistic in our approach, right? So the gut and the liver convert that inactive form to the active form. And the active form kind of swims around the body, binds with little, what I call them like cellular taxi cabs to take it where it needs to go. And there is a thyroid hormone receptor on every cell in the body. Every cell wants, needs, and is waiting for thyroid hormone. Okay? So if there's not enough, it's not getting there. It's like putting a lock in a key in a lock. It's not like putting a lock in a key. It's putting a key in a lock and turning. And so the last little variable here is getting to the receptors. So there are things that can block that active hormone from getting to the receptor. So you see the cycle, right? The brain tells the thyroid to make thyroid hormone. The thyroid hormone makes mostly inactive. The inactive converts to active. The active swims around and hopefully gets where it needs to go. But if we have chronic inflammation, other issues, it might not make it to the receptors. So you can see all the little places where things are not, maybe don't happen. Great question, Chris, and I'm going to answer it in 1 second. That's an awesome question. So now take a look at this. When we get tested for at most doctors' offices, all we get is the TSH, and if we're lucky, a T4 test. We usually have to ask for a full panel, which looks at that free T3 and looks at reverse T3, which Chris asked about, and I'm going to tell you what that is, and looks at to see if we have antibodies. So moreover, when it does look at just these two numbers, which is not enough, they're not always looking at those levels functionally, right? They're like, oh, you're in range, you're good. But we know that being in the normal range is not the same as really being optimal. So this is the quick and dirty picture of why this so often gets missed. And your clients can come to you and say, oh no, I had my thyroid checked. That's not it. And what that often results in for coaches is a lot of frustration, because you're working with people for a while, they're not getting better, they're not feeling better, now they're not showing up to appointments, they didn't get those results with you. Not everybody, but the people for whom this is happening, and that's a good chunk of people. So I want to take the lid off of this, and I have been. So I've been working on this for a few years, this course. I've trained a couple hundred coaches already around the world in this. And how do we know? How do we ask? How do we guide the clients to discover it? How do we language it in a way where we're not freaking them out and saying, well, actually, you might have a thyroid issue, right? And also in a way where we're not diagnosing, because we're partners with them. And if we can help them get this looked at and either rule it out or rule it in, and then take the next steps with them as a coach of healing, they have just made a discovery that changes their lives and hopefully has them feeling better than they ever thought they could. And you're the coach that can help them make that happen. So quickly I want to answer the question about reverse T3. So Chris asked, where does reverse T3 come in? So does everybody see, if you see where that receptors word is on the image, reverse T3 is like the body's safety net. It's like, we're going to keep this reverse T3, which is like a shield that blocks the receptors. We're going to keep this on hand just to keep balance, right? Our bodies have all these checks and balances, right? And so in case you have too much free T3, so to try to protect you from being hypothyroid where there's too much, the body keeps a little reverse T3 in the bank. So I say that free T3 is like the gas and the reverse T3 is like the brakes, right? And so it's you want to just kind of keep that gas going at the right level, but the body holds onto the brakes just in case. The problem is when we have systemic inflammation, a lot of stress. We know there are other inflammatory markers in the blood, but also just through questioning our clients, we can kind of tell if there's inflammation or problems. Poor digestion, digestive issues, whatever, that reverse T3 can shoot up. So even if you have ample thyroid hormones, it's not getting to the receptors. That's where reverse T3 comes in. And the problem is that most doctors, endocrinologists, have been trained that reverse T3 is a useless number. It's just like a metabolite of thyroid hormone. Nobody needs to look at it. They've also been trained, many of them, that you don't need to look at free T3, which is really an extremely important number. Because if the T4 is fine, your T3 is fine. But it's not, right? Some people are not converting. And I see it all the time. Their T4 is ample and their T3 is down here. And that's why they feel like crap. So that's the scientific picture of what's going on and why. I want coaches to know this so that you can understand that having this thyroid knowledge, having the basics, doesn't mean you need to become a thyroid expert or a thyroid coach. It's a tool in our belt to help better understand what's happening for our clients, guide them to better answers, and then do coaching that will actually work and bring change, which is really what we all are here for. So I want to pause there. I want to take any questions. I know it's a lot of info and it's a little bit shocking, right? To know that like this is happening. Thoughts, feedback, questions, I'm here.
I just want to make a quick comment that what Robin is outlining right now is just a small part of her program. It is so content rich, and there's a lot of information, but what makes it doable for us is that Robin walks us through every step of the way, just like she's doing today. She's so generous with her time. So if there's anything on here that's raising a question for you, you're not sure about what Robin mentioned, or if you have a personal or a client issue that has come up for you that's related to what Robin is mentioning, then please feel free to share that.
So yeah, what Chris is referring to is, and thank you, Chris, because I do try to be really generous with my information. I can't stand the element of our industry where people just give like teaser information and nothing really substantial, and then they just want to sell you stuff. Yes, I do have a course. Yes, I would love you all to join the course. I also would love you to just know about thyroid. So if the course is right for you, that's great. If it's not, that's okay too. I'm doing a free training that will show the slides you saw plus, so it's much more in depth. That's on Tuesday. Chris, you've done Mastering Thyroid Imbalance for Health Coaches, the whole course. So I think the free training is, we have a short time here, but I really wanted you to get a feel for what's going on and why, how that works in the body, why it's not on our radar, how the gut and liver piece and general wellness, health coaching, lowering inflammation is so critical and important. And they're not getting that at the doctor's office, I guarantee you, right? Most doctors. And so that you at least have it on the radar. If you want to go further and learn more, you can come on Tuesday night it's a live training for health coaches, and I've got a ton of people signed up for that already, and you're welcome to join. And the course is opening after that, so if you have questions about the course, I can answer those. But the course actually, my whole thing with thyroid knowledge and all of you and coaches is that, like, we've all taken courses that we've either never actually opened. I am guilty of that. I have paid for courses that I've never even logged in because I'm too busy or whatever. Or we learn it and we're like, that was good, but it's a lot and I need to go back over it. Or I'm still not sure how to apply this to clients. I think a lot of us who went to IIN, like, we loved it and we learned so much, but we still kind of feel unsure bringing it to real people with real situations. So my whole thing is this only serves the world if the people taking the course are comfortable taking this out to the world and out to clients and getting themselves out there. So the course is all about not just giving information, but supporting you to take that and use it confidently. So there's like a full set of materials that you can brand and use with clients. There's ongoing support forever, for free, like all of that. So we could talk more about that on Tuesday, but I want to get your thoughts in terms of this thyroid reality. Does it shed any light for you on what may be happening for clients or for yourselves, and the role that health coaches can play to help turn it around? And you can unmute or type.
I did also want to mention that what Robin said is exactly the reason why we're starting Health Coach Community. It's about bringing information to what we're doing with our clients and with ourselves in our daily lives, and supporting each other through that process so that we can truly share the gifts that we have and make an impact to help people. So everything Robin said is what we're about, and that's why we're here today. Does anybody else have a question?
Oh, there was a question, Chris, on the page.
Yep.
about paleo diets. And
Yes.
if there are any other questions on the page, I can take those. I know
do.
we're getting low on time. It's 20 after now.
I just wanted to give the people a chance who are here to ask.
Absolutely.
And I
can unmute. You're unmuted if anybody wants to chime in.
No chiming? Okay. Well, I'm going to start in with a question. One of our health coaches said that she is taking her 13-year-old daughter to be tested for thyroid issues and meeting with the doctor next week.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't be here today, but wondered if you could give her some sort of guidance on what she can do during that to prepare for the meeting and during the meeting.
Absolutely. So the first thing I would say overall, and part of what I train coaches to do, is to help our clients become empowered patients. So if you're listening to this recording, person who asked the question, the first thing I want to share with you is you and is it her daughter or her son, did you say?
Daughter.
Okay, you and your daughter are the experts in you and your daughter, right? We're always the experts in our own bodies. And we are looking for doctor input to get the medical perspective. And we need doctors. We need good doctors. I love good doctors, and my life now to good doctors. But remember that your doctor is like a member of your team, your health team. And so we can hire a team and we can fire a team. So first of all, make sure you feel good with the doctor. Make sure you can have a conversation and that doctor is treating you like a colleague, right? And not minimizing your complaints, number one. So converse, see how that conversation goes. Are they hearing you? Are they responding? Are they listening and taking you seriously? Teenagers, very much like adult women, their symptoms tend to get written off because they're teenagers. Like, of course they sleep all day, they're teenagers, right? Or of course they're moody, they're teenagers, right? So low thyroid often gets misdiagnosed as depression, as bipolar, because we're so fatigued we can't get up and engage and do things. And it's scary, and to think how many people are being medicated for these things. That is not to say, I like to make very clear, that's not to say everyone who has depression or bipolar really has a thyroid issue. Those are real things, and they need to be addressed properly. But there is a large portion of people who are diagnosed because they rule out thyroid, and then they rule in other things. So number one, be an empowered patient. Partner with your doctor. Find a doctor that you feel good about. Number two, insist on a full panel. So I can answer that more thoroughly in our group, and I'm happy to list those. But a full panel, everybody, is TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, which you may have to push a little bit to get. And there are two kinds of hypothyroid type antibodies. One is called TPO. The other is called TGAB. Now there's another antibody called TSI that's usually correlated with hypothyroid, which is more rare, but it does exist. So if that's suspected, you should test for TSI. So that's a full panel. And I hope that this person asking will request the full panel. Write it down before you go to the doctor. You can even say, I spoke to a health coach. These are the tests she recommends. Some language that we can use at doctor's offices to get more testing is to say, I want it as a baseline. Right? That's a medical term. We want to get a full picture of where that person is now so you can monitor change over time. That's a valid request. So there's that. So I hope that helps her to get the most out of that appointment. And the final little piece of advice is always ask for a copy of your labs. So they may just call you and say everything's normal. We don't go for that. We want to know where in the range things are. Are they actually optimal? That's something I can help people with, but get a copy of your labs.
Great. Is everybody still good? Okay.
The question about paleo, I just don't want that person to get forgotten about.
That was the next one, and it actually fit in with another person who said, I'll just read it. I understand that the paleo diet is recommended for thyroid issues.
That's the one.
What would you do to help a client who is vegan, vegetarian, or prefers to consume very little meat?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So one of the pillars, I teach 6 pillars for health coaches to address the body holistically with thyroid issues. And one of them, obviously, of course, is diet, right? And so we do want to keep a low glycemic diet as much as possible, and that usually works best with a paleo type diet. But different diets work for different people. And so, there are some people out there, I've had people come to me who said, I called so-and-so, who shall remain nameless, and she won't even work with me because I'm a vegetarian. And she said, I won't get better if I stay with how I eat. And I understand, I actually wish I could be a vegetarian. I don't function well on a vegetarian diet. I love a lot of vegetarian food, but I respect it. It's more than just a dietary choice. For a lot of people, it's a spiritual and, religious almost belief. And we have to work within our clients' systems. So if you're working with vegetarian or vegans, keep it as low glycemic as possible. So you want to choose the low glycemic fruits. You want to up the green vegetables. You do want to up that protein as much as you can. So finding proteins that that person can comfortably eat, whether it's, and I know it's processed, but whether it's like adding pea protein powder to things, soaking nuts overnight helps remove the enzyme inhibitors and makes them far more digestible. So if you're doing nuts, soak them overnight and have more nuts. The healthy fats are good for you anyway. But really just keeping that protein level high and the glycemic level low. There are many ways to be vegetarian. And, I think in college, I was a junk food vegetarian for a while. I was like a pasta, starch, bread, cheese vegetarian, which was absolutely awful for me. And that's one of the reasons I was not healthy. But we've all seen people like, oh, I'm a vegetarian, so they're eating lots of starch. That's super glycemic, not helpful for this, for any kind of body balance, really. So yeah, low glycemic, high protein. I hope that helps.
That's great. And then similar to that, another person had commented that about fad diets and how she'd recently gotten her blood work back and it was a disaster.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, because we've heard about paleo, we've also heard about keto, and is there another one? Oh,
AIP is another, the autoimmune protocol.
So I guess the question is there really one diet, or is it truly about finding the pieces of the diets that work best for the person?
I would say the latter. I don't think there's one diet that's right for everyone, although the people who market keto will say it's the cure-all for everything, and the people, I don't agree with that. You have to look at the whole body, and you have to look at the person. A person, for example, to take the vegetarian example, who's a true spiritual vegetarian, and you try to put them on a paleo diet, they will be so distraught, grossed out, and stressed from putting animal flesh or trying to in their body. And us convincing them that that's the best thing for them is asinine, frankly, because emotionally that would be so difficult for them, and it would then negatively affect their health because they don't feel good. They don't feel happy. They feel like a terrible person. They're going against their beliefs. And we all know, right, if you follow any of the work of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, like how we feel when we eat and how we feel about our foods directly affects our gut health, right? So no, that's not the answer for everyone. Generally speaking though, like physiologically, metabolically, I don't think there's one answer for everybody, but there are guidelines that are really good for most people. So for most people with these issues. So low glycemic is a guideline. You can be low glycemic on paleo, you can be low glycemic on vegetarian diet. Upping the protein with this issue is really important. You can do that in a variety of ways. Now, I will say this, there are people who truly benefit from like the autoimmune protocol, but that's designed to be a short-term thing. That's designed to cut the inflammation, cut the reactions. It's highly restricted, and then you gradually work things back in. People have great results with it. Does that mean it's right for everyone? No. Should it be done long term? No. It's hard to live in the world with that. I'm all about like being able to live in the world. And I'll throw in one more thing about keto. you don't have to be keto all the time, right? So some people talk about, like, you don't have to be in ketosis and fat burning mode all the time. There are strategies like you can do intermittent fasting 2 days a week that will help you access the fat and become fat adapted without putting your body under the stress of being in ketogenesis all the time. If you have adrenal fatigue, and adrenal fatigue is connected very highly with thyroid imbalance, being in a ketogenic state can actually be extremely stressful for the body, for a long period of time, ketogenic state for a long period of time. So no, I don't think there's one answer for everyone. We want to learn what's out there. We want to know our clients and help pull those strategies that are going to work best for them.
Great. I know it's officially 1:30.
Yep. It's officially end time.
But
I can pop into the group. So if anyone's watching the recording and you come up with questions and you want to post them in the group, just tag me in the group so that I see it, and I'm happy to go in and answer.
Great. And I'll send an email out to everyone on the list and offer the recording to anybody who wants to sign up. And the email will have information about Robin's upcoming webinar. And we did put together some special gifts for anybody who decides to move forward with Robin and her program and her course. And that'll all be outlined.
Connecticut peeps.
Just for us.
Yeah.
And I think I would like to keep us right on time and honor everybody's schedule. How's everybody doing? Are we all good? Yay. All right.
So Chris, you're going to list those in the email. And for those of you who are feeling like I really want this knowledge for my coaching business or for myself, there are a lot of coaches. I'd say the majority of coaches in the course actually have their own thyroid issues that they are solving through taking the course or have solved. But if you want to do that, yeah, I love the Connecticut group. And Chris, everything you're doing and creating the community and just like being real with people and not, the whole polished, perfect coach business is so effortlessly thriving. Like it's never effortless, and like things are never perfect. And I think that coaches to come together and be real and help each other is where it's at. So I'm honored to be part of that. And if anyone in the Connecticut group decides that the course is right for them, Chris will share with you, we're going to do some like small group support and some sessions and stuff to provide that for you. Because I love you guys, and hopefully I'll see you this summer when I'm back home.
That'd be great. We'll have to have a get-together again.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. And this is our official goodbye. We'll see you again in Facebook land and again in future events.
Yeah, all your future health coach community events, which are going to be amazing.
That's right. We're going to have some fun.
Bye, guys. Thanks for everyone for coming, and thanks to all of you on the recording. And, of course, thank you, Chris. You're always doing such great stuff.
Well, thank you. I love it.
Okay, I'm pressing stop. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.